Welcome into Black and Gold Insider, the show where we get to know the players of LAFC a little better. We get into the locker room. Glad you could join us. I am Max Bretos and thrilled to be joined by one of the players that joined the club here in 2025, Mark Delgado. We've had time to carve out some time in the preseason and leading, but now we're gonna roll up our sleeves a bit. But I want to hear from you first. What is the name you prefer to be called?
Yeah, Mark, to be honest. I mean, people who know me for a very long time since I was a kid, I'm okay with them calling me Marky because that was my nickname when I was a lot younger. But now when I'm meeting someone, I'm older now. Not old, but I'm older now. And I just introduce myself as Mark. It's just a lot more mature.
Very distinguished. But was your given name Marco?
It's actually Marco Antonio together.
Oh,
Marco Antonio, yeah. As like the singer, Marco Antonio Solis, yeah, like that.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And I imagine if you're in trouble with your parents, go Marco Antonio, and then
Marco Antonio, you're right.
I have 4 middle names. When my mom uses all 4 of them, I know I'm in big trouble. So
that's right.
Mark, it is from this day forth. But you wear it very well, Mark, and we're very excited to be having this conversation. Tell us about where you were from.
I was born in Montclair, California, and I lived in Pomona, California, till I was the age of 4, and then I was going to school in the city of Glendora. And eventually, the commute was a bit far for my parents, and we ended up moving to the city of Glendora and kind of stayed there, till I was 18 when I had to leave because of, my team at the time dispersed and had to go to Toronto with Greg Vanny. And it's kind of weird to say, right? 18, 16. I signed at 16 and then, had to leave. But I was used to it at a young age. You travel a lot, playing with the academy levels, and eventually went to Bradenton, Florida. Yeah, that's a whole nother story. Yeah.
Bradenton.
Yeah.
It sounds like you were a mature guy at the age of 16. You're dealing with adult themes, traveling far away, getting your passport stamped, going to Florida.
Yeah. There's a whole lot going on. Definitely would say I matured a lot because of the game, and then living away from home for a whole year at the IMG Academy. With at the time U.S. Soccer had a program called Residency, and they definitely help you grow up there. Every day before training, shaking the hands of the coaches, looking them in the eyes, using, good morning, it brought me out of my shell. I was a very quiet kid, didn't speak too much. And that really helped me mature. So by the time I got back home, like my parents were just kind of like, who is this kid? Like it's only 1 year, but who is this kid? Right. But definitely helped me because when I came back, I definitely wanted to sign pro right away. So I got myself into, at the time it was Chivas USA. They were around, got into their academy thinking something could happen, and definitely something happened pretty quickly. And yeah, when I was around that environment, I was already quite mature for my age. So I knew how to go about myself, saying good morning to all the vets and all of them. And, quickly got a liking from them. But also,
Good teammate.
Yeah. I mean, his young kid stayed in his lane, stayed quiet, just did what he had to do, never overstepped. It's different nowadays,
Well, the thing that makes you so special and why LAFC is going to embrace you so much is because the connection locally. And I got to say, Pomona, Glendora, that little corridor, when I think about it, I think of a lot, all the way up towards the Inland Empire. I mean, that's a lot of talent. East LA and further east, Aaron Long, Carlos Bocanegra. I mean, you must have played against some ballers.
I did. speaking about Carlos Bocanegra, I was on the same team with him for a year in Chivas USA, and I would carpool with him sometimes to training. But yeah, I mean, definitely played against a lot of good players, played with even better players. Yeah, man, I've been very fortunate enough to play with such great talent, Carlos Bocanegra. What else kind of quickly off my head?
Let's drop some names. Come on.
Yeah. I mean, Sebastian Javinko, Michael Bradley, Josie Altidore, Benoit Cheroux, French legend. Yeah, and then you got MLS talent, Drew Moore, Dan Kennedy, Stephen Betashore, Justin Morrow, Clint Irwin at the time, Alex Bono at the time, Jonathan Osorio. Like these guys are great players, right? So I've been fortunate enough to be able to play alongside all these guys and learn a little bit from everyone.
You clearly immersed in soccer, and you kind of answered this question, but I'd love to get into a little bit more detail how you got into the sport. What was that ignition that said, I'm going to play soccer, I'm going to play it a lot to the point where I'm at today?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of started, not kind of, but it really started at a young age. I just, saw my brothers growing up, watching them play in Sunday League, and just kind of enjoyed it, watching people score goals with their head and stuff. Like as a young kid, you're just like, what just happened? That was out of this world. Like what? And then my dad even played in a Sunday League. So spending time with him, watching him play as well was awesome. And then just kind of being around the sport a lot, kind of just drew my attention, I guess you can say. Yeah, I mean, and like I said earlier, I was a very quiet kid, didn't really talk to others. So it was an outlet for me, essentially, to play with this soccer ball and kick the ball. You don't really have to talk to other people. You can just kick ball back and forth with other people. My dad, teammates at the time, and everyone would have a good time. So that was definitely a big outlet for me. And knew that's something I wanted to do forever, but now obviously it's not, as I got older, it's not going to last forever.
You never know.
I stuck with it. Eventually joined the Sunday League with my dad's help, of course. Did well, got scouted by a club coach whose name is Juan Sanchez. He's the head coach of Mount Sac College around here. And yeah, I was with him for quite a long time until I got to the age of time to make that next step to academy level, right? And then that's where he kind of guided us to Dan Kalicman, who's also a SoCal, well-known SoCal name, ex-professional soccer player as well. And that's where I met Dan Kalicman. I was with him for a little bit until I went to this program in Florida with U.S. Soccer for a whole year, where we just kind of played soccer every morning and went to school in the afternoons and rinse and repeat every single day. And that's what it was, right? At the time. And then quickly after that, I was like, all right, I want to do something with this. I want to go pro. Me just thinking big, I always thought like, this is what I want. I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to do whatever it takes to make it happen. So I had big aspirations. And once I left, I contacted someone from Chivas USA Academy through another teammate of mine in that program in Florida. I ended up right away joining them in their next tournament, which Generation Adidas, a tournament. Generation Adidas. Did well. And then eventually that next preseason with the first team, I joined the first team, did preseason with them. And and then close to the end of that preseason, I signed my first contract, professional contract, at least at the age of 16. Yeah.
Yeah, and what a network you've created. And just to get back, you have 2 brothers?
I have 3 brothers.
3 brothers.
And 1 sister. Yeah.
And you were born in the United States. Your parents are Mexican?
Yes, I was born in the United States. My parents are Mexican, yes.
And did they name you after Marco Antonio Solis?
They did. Yeah, they did.
Brilliant.
Big fans. I've never heard a song from the guy, but
wait a minute. Not even after they told you that you're named after, you haven't put on a song?
No, I've just never really been too interested into seeing what it was all about. You know,
I think he's
like, all right.
I think he might have played BMO at some point. So, if that happens again, maybe.
Yeah. I know it's a big name.
Bring your parents out.
Yeah, for sure. I know he's a big name, so yeah, that's all I know.
I want to talk to you about this because so many kids you had your experience with the U.S. national team, and who knows, maybe it'll come up again. The dual national that you go through with your family, it's a very tough decision, and through the years, people have kind of swept it under the rug. You and your family making that decision with U.S. and Mexico coming at you. What was that process like, and how difficult did it get at some points to have to make a decision? Because back when you did, it was like, this is it, and this is going to be the country you choose moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the decision was quite easy just because I was with the U.S. youth program from the age of 15. So I took every step of the way. I went from the U15 youth national team to the U17s to the U18s and so on to the 20s. Went to the U20 World Cup, and then see where it went after there. And then eventually got called into one of the January camps. It was I got asked that question a lot. Which one would I choose, either Mexico or U.S.? But I feel like I had a lot of ties with U.S. soccer just because they kind of helped pave the way for me. So, I kind of made it a lot easier for me to like, oh yeah, definitely I want to go this route, just because even though I feel Mexican, my parents are Mexican, I'm in the Mexican culture, obviously, at my household. Soccer-wise, I never had too much to do with, Liga MX, aside from watching games on TV. Never got too much attention from that side, right? So I felt like this was an easy decision for me because they've paved the way for me, right? They've really helped me excel in my development as a player, and it just made the decision quite easy for me.
Makes sense. But at home, does your family support a certain Liga MX team?
Yeah. That was Dennis. Denny.
Can he call? This opens up a can of worms about your name. He goes, I can call you Dennis, maybe.
No, I mean this guy's the best.
Tell him we're gonna get him on the show too, because I know his English is getting very good.
It's getting better. I'm forcing him to speak a little bit more.
About your playing style. I mean, coaches rave about you. I mean, how would you describe how you play? What are your best attributes?
I would say just, technical ability, awareness, where things need to be. If there's a missing piece, like I see it as kind of a puzzle, the game. And if there's a player not in a certain position, that's the missing piece right there, right? So maybe I will slowly find my way to rotate into that position to fill it, right? Or now as Steve doesn't really want me to move too much, communicate that to other people, right? But yeah, with previous teams, definitely I was quite aware where things needed to be, balancing the team. As my old coach would say, I'm a good balancer. But definitely with the ball, I'm technically good. I can pass the ball really well. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's all this little small, simple things I'm really good at. That people just overlook, right? People overlook those small, simple things, and defensively, I'm definitely a workhorse. I all the dirty things, getting down, getting into tackles, covering ground, then getting back forward as well. All that stuff is what I live for, right? It's not easy, but it's definitely a good feeling when you can come out with a win at the end of the day.
Well, sure. I'm going to ask you about the winning. And by the way, we all need a good balancer, and we need some people to do the dirty work. And I guarantee you that'll get you from where you need to get. And that brings me to this quote that John Thorrington said about you. He is the type of guy every successful team needs. You have won in multiple spots. Winning mentality to you, what does that mean? Or how do you get there?
It's all about details, honestly. Every play matters. A lot of people don't think that's the case and just think, you show up for the moment. There's moments in games for sure, but ultimately the game's 90 minutes. And if you fall asleep for a few seconds here, a few seconds there, that can ultimately decide whether you win or lose. And that's just definitely what I'm good at. I'm just quite detailed oriented, you can say, right? I'm locked in for the 90 minutes, making sure everyone's where they need to be, because those little things can make the difference, whether you have the ball or you don't have the ball, whether you are on the attacking side or you're just defending the whole game. Those things make such a big difference at the end of the day. And that can, really bring success, or, if we would have, been aware of this play happening, this would have happened, blah, blah, blah. Right. And you ended up on the backside of the score, and, ultimately decides whether you have a championship or not. But that doesn't come from just me, right? That has to come from the whole team, right? And everyone has to buy into what we're doing ultimately, for sure.
Well, I can see why the coaches love you, because that's a coach mentality, no?
It's just so much
attention to detail,
almost too much to explain, right? It's just keep it simple. It's attention to detail, right? For 90 plus minutes.
Mark, it's been. What have you enjoyed about the LAFC experience? You settled in nicely. You're playing a lot. You're here at home.
Right.
I'm sure the proximity to family and friends is great. But what are those things that you've really enjoyed since wearing the black and gold?
The culture. Everyone's doing the best they can, doing their part to make sure everything's taken care of, whether it's guys on the field, it's guys in the kitchen, it's guys in the equipment room, people upstairs, just people everywhere are making sure they're doing their job the best they can to make sure everything is running smoothly or to the best of, their ability. And then I love that, right? Coming from Toronto, where we had so much success, that was the same way. That was the culture. And at the same time, it felt genuine, like a family, and that's what I feel here. It feels very, they say, intimate here, because, the training ground's quite small, but it has everything you need. Everyone gets along with each other. And it feels real special here. So definitely that's a big key to, long-term success. And, we just need to get the results on the field at the end of the day and just keep it going. Make sure everyone stays healthy, make sure the vibes are always important. That's all it is. Honestly, we have everything here to be successful. So there's no reason why, we can't do it.
Yeah. And you will be the vibe master. You will set that tone. I'm sure you will. Mark, It's great to chat with you, man. What a great story to share. We'll get you some Marco Antonio on your playlist here. It's Marco Antonio Solis on your playlist here in a little bit. But other than that, everything tip top. And we'll see you out there on the field.
Yeah. Look forward to seeing everybody out there at BMO Stadium.
There it is. Mark Delgado joining us here on Black and Gold Insider. We'll be back again next week as we go and chat with all the great personalities on the club. Until that time, this is Max Bretos reminding, let's go Black and Gold. We'll see you soon.